Hello, Hytale fans of the internet. Chris here, otherwise known as CanadianFlash, and today I am back with another Hytale video. Yes, I know, it has been a while. I don't even know how long it's been, 6 months or something. We're back making Hytale videos, and today, everybody, this is a big one. So today is a little bit of a bigger video. Today, I asked a bunch of Hytale community members to send me one theory of Orbis, or just a Hytale theory in general, and I put it into a theory video today. I'm also doing a theory as well. You'll see it later on in the video, but once again, go check out every single Hytale community member. All the links are going to be in the description down below, and we're back on the CanadianFlash channel. We're making Hytale content again because that's just what we do here. We love Hytale. I love Hytale. I know you guys love Hytale. And smash that subscribe button. I've been active on the Hytale podcast, but I've not been active on here. So with that being said, guys, enjoy the Hytale theories. Grab some popcorn and get ready for this.
Hi, my name is Håkon, and I've got a theory for you. Hytale starts out in the world of Orbis, and from the concept art we can see that there are actually an additional 4 Alterverses. Now this is just early concept art, so we need to take it with a grain of salt, but if we look at what we're presented with, we might learn more about the story of Hytale. What we do know is that the main adventure will take place in these 2 Alterverses, Orbis and Nexus. This was confirmed to us on Twitter by John Hendricks. Now that brings up some questions. Why are these 2 worlds significant? Why do we start on Orbis? Why do we need to go to Nexus? To figure this out, we need to first look at the elements. There are 5 main elements in Hytale: water, fire, air, earth, and lightning. And there's a 6th in the middle, void. It is clearly distinct from the rest, acting as a connection between these elements rather than being one of them. Void therefore makes me think of Nexus, not just because it's dark and spooky, but also because Nexus is the ancient Greek word for binding. It is a central connection, binding the other elements together. Rather than thinking of it as a separate element, maybe it is some sort of amalgamation of the 5 elements, making it more powerful than all of them. And this is likely the power and domain of the evil god Varin. From his design there is clear inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft, as the tentacles are a nod at the evil god Cthulhu. Lovecraft is known for creating a literary genre known as cosmic horror. Meanwhile, the void in Hytale reminds us of the ultimate cosmic horror in our own universe, black holes. And there are potentially some similarities between the void and black holes. They both represent the unknown and the unknowable, defying our understanding and inspiring both fear and curiosity. Varin is likely the god of Nexus, seeking to bind the void to the other Alterverses, absorbing them just like a black hole. Meanwhile on Orbis, we've seen that there are 6 zones, which we know to be related to the elements. There's the Emerald Grove based on earth, Howling Sands based on air, Borea based on water, Devastated Lands based on fire, and an unannounced zone based on lightning. Unlike Nexus, the elements in Orbis are separated, existing in harmony rather than being forced together. But the final zone is likely corrupted, and the void has already started absorbing this world. Gaia is the goddess of this world, and she has the power of the 5 elements, represented by each of her locks of hair. This can also be seen in the iconography of the world of Orbis. That means that Gaia and Varin are likely 2 sides of the same coin. Just like Varin is the god of Nexus, Gaia is the goddess of Orbis. They both control all the elements, but Varin has a more concentrated and powerful form. By combining the elements, he can wield them in new ways, but also create corrupted versions of all of them. Green fire, green lightning, corrupted air, soil and water. Combined, it is 5 times as powerful. Even so, Gaia managed to seal away Varin, as seen from the symbol for evil contained in the iconography. But then how did Gaia manage to contain Varin in the first place? Did she have help? Gaia's name is the same as the ancient Greek god of the earth. But that begs the question, what about the other Alterverses? Nexus has 1 god, Orbis has 1 god. It is unlikely that Gaia controls the other Alterverses as well. So then there are potentially other gods, 1 for each Alterverse. And judging from their appearance, they seem to be based on singular elements. Nemdrassil has a god of air, Torbolin has a god of fire, and Karpak has a god of earth. If we go by the ancient Greek naming convention, their names would be Ether, Pyr, and Geo. Individually, they are likely too weak to fight off Varin, as they only control a single element. But then, what about water and lightning, Hudor and Karanos? Perhaps they have already been defeated, and those alternate realities no longer exist. Since Gaia controls all 5 elements, she is likely much more powerful than these gods, but maybe they helped her seal Varin away. But before they confined him, the void started spreading through the now missing Alterverses, eventually absorbing both of them. By absorbing them, Varin grew stronger and the seal grew weaker, and now the void is spreading through Orbis as well, further weakening Gaia. Because of this, alien creatures from Nexus are now entering Orbis. A faction of evildoers, the Outlanders, were amongst them, and they corrupted the most powerful faction in this world, the humans, absorbing their minds and controlling their bodies, ultimately leaving much of civilization in ruins. As an omnipotent being, Gaia can see all possible futures, but at this point she cannot see a future where they can defeat Varen. So as a last-ditch effort, she uses the last of her power to summon an entity from beyond the Alterverses, one that is more similar to Orbis, the Earth. These entities are known as avatars, and they are essentially puppets controlled by humans from Earth. The Alterverses are ultimately destined for destruction at the hands of Varen, but the avatars throw a wrench into this destiny. Their quest is to clear off the invading forces from Nexus, then travel across dimensions to defeat Varen and his home.
Yo, CanadianFlash, I heard you need a theory about Orbis, and I got you one that probably not a lot of people even think about, and it's about Clops. What even is a Clop? We know a single concept art showing their little hidey hole and that they live underneath the world of Orbis, and then we've actually seen them in a postcard as a merchant. So we can kind of identify that they'll be more of like a wandering trader or a villager, similar to those that we know in Minecraft. But I want to dig deeper here. What is a Clop? I mean, that's a really weird name. It's weirdly specific because it's actually an acronym. And it's an acronym for K, Kairos, L, lethal, O, operating, P, personnel. Kairos' lethal operating personnel. They are actually assassins, and they're trying to kill everyone on Orbis on the order of Kairos.
Okay, so welcome back. It's Quebec Corner. So you know the thing. CanadianFlash asked me to give a theory about Orbis and my opinions on the Alterverse. So in 1 minute or less, let's go. I'm pretty sure that Orbis is one of many creator-made worlds, except it's defined as the special one because Gaia, another player character, made this world. And I think that something about her as a player is different to us as players. Maybe she was a beta tester, maybe she was an alpha tester, maybe she was the original avatar. But either way, she's been taken after creating her very own world. So my thing is that either Varen is another player or a complete alien entity, right? Maybe another player that took over Gaia's world and hacked her account or like kept her kidnapped, or maybe Varen's an alien entity from the game itself, like a glitch or like some sort of evil entity that appeared from another world. What are the Alterverses though? Not too sure, other than planets, or maybe other players' actual worlds. Who knows?
Alright. I am recording. Hello, CanadianFlash. I presume you're gonna use this for the video, but probably cut this part out. I don't know. Maybe you'll be lazy and keep all this in. In that case, I'm just giving you some extra watch time. Look at that. We're already at 15 seconds. Let's go. Anyways, so CanadianFlash wanted to ask me, what are my theories about Orbis and or the Alterverses of Hytale? And I've spoken with a lot of people about like the lore. I will admit it's not something I've necessarily focused on like when I've like analyzed Hytale, but nonetheless it is interesting to think about. I've heard a lot of different takes on it, but the one that I am the most confident about, that's always been the one that I've believed to be correct, is that I think honestly that Hypixel Studios, instead of like trying to build this completely entirely in-game lore that like disregards the real world as like, you know, existent, I think they're actually gonna break the third wall a little bit, and these two characters that we have known about, Gaia and Varen, right? Gaia the villain, or no, not Gaia's not the villain, what am I saying? Gaia, this like celestial being that we've spoken about, is like a deity of Orbis and the land, and then Varen, who is like this void, corruptive like character that has like come in to sabotage and destroy the world. I honestly, this entire time, really believe that just like I think we refer to all the players as avatars in Hytale, I believe that Gaia and Varen are just two avatars, or I suppose you could call them players, but I don't think they'll actually refer to them as players. But I've just assumed this entire time that we are actually going into this this other player's world, right? This like creative. That I think that's how they're gonna unite those pillars of the creative thing as well as the adventure. That the adventure is just us exploring a another player's world, and I'm pretty sure, sure, this may sound brilliant, but I'm pretty sure they've actually spoken about this, so this is not 100% original. Please do not yell at me that like I'm just like reading off the forums or like the blog posts. I'm sure there's tidbits of information that have been added in there, but regardless, this is what has stuck with me the most, that I believe that Gaia was simply just a player or an avatar, depending on how much they want to break the third wall, that has, you know, built up this wonderful creative world with all these dungeons and creatures, and that's how they're really gonna mesh in this like quote-unquote scripting abilities. I think they're gonna try to tie it all in canon and lore with like the abilities of the creative tools and whatnot, but like regardless, here's this world. It has Quebecs, it has Torques. Not necessarily every world has those, but Orbis does. And Orbis as a whole, I think, is referring to her world, not actually like just like the overworld in Hytale. And I know I've been going on for like 3 minutes. I don't necessarily know how long CanadianFlash want me to go on for, but I'll just try to wrap up real quick with like the Varen sequence, which is that Varen, I believe, is just a very malicious / chaotic player that decides to like, you know, do some bit of griefing, some bit of maybe hacking / corruption, whatever. Like I don't know, maybe he's just a troller, but he has gone around to all these different player worlds and just wreaked havoc. And I think that like what they're gonna say is that he is basically just a normal avatar, but the more he has like gone around and does this, he has corrupted himself. Either that or he's some sort of messed up source code that like, you know, has become a corruptive arc in the world of Orbis. But I to follow that up, I do believe that these Alterverses that we've heard about, like Torballen and whatnot, are actually just other avatars or other players' worlds. I think it would be very cool to imagine, because if we look at like the concept art, right, all these worlds look so different from one another. Like, you know, you got Orbis, which looks like Earth, you know, then you got the Torballen, which literally looks like some alien, like, I don't even know how to explain, but it looks very alien, very, very alternate to Orbis, and so do the other worlds, like the Nexus, whatever it was called. They're all very unique, and like, I don't think that supposedly if Gaia is the deity of this world, that Gaia created on them all, I think what sounds more interesting is that in reality, or like in the lore, that these are all different avatars of worlds. Gaia belonging to Orbis. Orbis was Gaia's, and Varen has been going around just completely wreaking havoc in all these players' worlds, and ultimately our story lies with tracking him down and saving Orbis, and then depending on what they do with the other worlds, I assume we may meet more avatars like Gaia, or maybe it is that they're already gone. Maybe they're dead. Maybe Varen has screwed up the world so much. But I know that some people are gonna really be questioning this take on the lore of the world, how the different worlds, you know, work together, but I am fully invested in the idea that they're just different player worlds, and I think that that's how they're gonna try connecting all these abilities of using the creative pillar with the multiplayer pillar with the adventure, and I think that's what makes the most sense in the grand scheme of things for me. I mean, I could be completely wrong here, and it could be that there is this whole like world that Gaia is actually a full-blown, you know, fictional god here and all that, but considering the fact that the creator tools give us godlike powers, it does also make sense that Gaia is just an avatar like us, and we are just like her, and we're coming into this world that belonged to her, and, you know, now it's up to us to either fix it or to save her. We don't really know the story yet, but that is my take. I am sorry that I've been ranting for like 6 minutes now. It's sorry. I get very hyped up about Hytale. And yeah, I look forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.
Back in November 2020, Hypixel released a postcard detailing the first mention of a war which scourged the land of Orbis. In it, they showcased one of the various human ruins we've seen scattered throughout all the zones. Within many of these ruins, we've found human undead inhabitants. Now, that wouldn't be particularly of note if it weren't for the fact that nearly all undead we've seen so far are of human remains. Whatever caused this war led to significant human casualties, and as such, I propose this war was between humanity themselves and the entirety of Orbis. The factions were likely once incredibly prosperous, having significantly more numbers than they do at current. Yet with this age of prosperity, it was inevitable there would be those who would seek to take advantage of it. In their desire to expand, humanity would begin a conquest throughout all of Orbis, establishing the First Empire. Self-proclaiming themselves as Gaia's chosen, they forced many factions into their militaristic rule under the guise of unification and peace. Unknown by many, humanity's ranks were slowly being corrupted from the inside by a malevolent source of power. This would spell the beginning of their empire's downfall. It's likely that Zone 4 was destroyed sometime during humanity's reign. And I say this because it's the only zone where we see so obviously human remains scattered across the entire surface. Not only that, but the remains all bear the Orbis officer uniform, the trademark of their ruined empire. Whatever the purpose this region served, it was most certainly a hotspot for human activity. This leads me to believe Zone 4 was humanity's cradle. It was their birthplace. So when the ground erupted and turned the region into a fiery, barren hellscape, it severely weakened their forces and began to cause unrest within their empire. Not long after, the Scarix took this opportunity to overthrow their queen and enslave the Pharans. Humanity's inability to stop this event was the spark which led to an all-out civil war. This war lasted possibly hundreds of years, tearing the landscape apart and the factions along with it. The effects of this conflict are still felt throughout the world today, with battle-scarred landscapes, wounds left in the world, and many factions opting to live in isolation of one another just to ensure that terrible future would never again come to pass. Humanity was almost entirely wiped out, with most of their remainders fleeing to the skies, while others stayed behind and embraced their corruption, turning to a dark god led far astray from Gaia's light. Remnants of humanity's empire still survive to this day, with the current leader of the Orbis officers, Tessa, wishing to restore humanity to their former glory, even if that means dealing with the same dark magic which once brought their empire to ruin. Many object to Tessa's methods, including the second-in-command Kairos. However, any such thoughts are quickly dealt away with, ensuring humanity is at full strength for their eventual return.
Hey, I'm Blitz, and CanadianFlash asked me to bring one of my Orbis theories. But my theory isn't exactly about Orbis, but it's actually about its avatar. So a few years back, Hytale showed a concept art of the different Alterverses in the game. You know, Numjazzle, Nexus, Balin, and Kerpak. Then, lastly, you know, Orbis. Looking at the Alterverses, you'll see that directly neighboring Orbis is Numjazzle and Nexus. Both of them kind of resemble Gaia and Varen, with Nexus being very void-like with all of its purple, and Numjazzle being very Gaia-like with the light and a lot of the green nature-y elements very visible. So my theory is, what if Orbis never had its own avatar, and Gaia and Varen are just fighting for control over Orbis? Now, it sounds kind of crazy. I mean, I thought so too. But one of my bigger reasons why I believe this is because we already know how the avatars shape the world to what they want it to be. But it really seems like, at least to me, that Orbis is the only Alterverse with more than 2 elements present on the planet. I believe it's Kerpak that has a bit of sand and water on it, but same with Numjazzle has a bit of nature and water. But besides from that, all of them are primarily 1 element. So to me, it seems like Orbis grew its element, made itself wildly instead of controlled like the other avatars. Or who knows, Gaia could still just be Orbis's avatar and she just made multiple elements. Anyway, this was a fun Orbis theory I came up with at 3 AM while looking at concept art. So if you're ever bored and don't know what to do, especially at late night hours, just load up the Hytale website and look at concept art. That's what I do. I'm not insane. Anyway, thanks to CanadianFlash for having me on here, and I hope you enjoyed my theory.
Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm going to bring up the last theory of today's video, and this theory is a recent discovery, and it has to do with the abilities of Varen. In a concept art, we can see that Varen has a sketch, and in this sketch there is slight writing on it that spells anti-grav arm, which points to me that it says his right arm has anti-gravity powers. In the Varen wallpaper, we see Varen using that power. Many believe that this is his void power, which yes, it could be the case, but personally I believe that is his anti-gravity powers, and he uses his void powers on his other arm. The ability of anti-gravity powers is a very cool concept and is likely the lore behind the floating islands, which we presume is going to be in Zone 5 and has the lightning element embraced with it. Perhaps the reason Zone 4 is flipped could also be due to the fact of those anti-gravity powers as well. Yes, that is my theory about Orbis. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and also once again, I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who submitted a theory for today's video. I want to do another one like this again in the future, maybe once we have some beta news. That would be epic. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Check out all the links in the description, and I'll see you guys next time.